be able to do this without having someone help me. And what they didn't know was I had always been an academic achiever. And so therefore I was going to figure it out one way or the other. And once they found out what high school I attended, they all changed their mindsets about me and they became more respectful. When I had conversations about the upbringing, we found out that we all had similar upbringings. We had similar exposure to different things and we all did different things, but we did it during that time. So we're all the same. We're no different. And when we did a blood drive, like everybody's giving up blood, who knows what blood you're getting, you know? So cut the crap, you know? And you got good people, you got mean people, you have people of, and a lot of the Karen-ism and the Ken-ism, because a lot of people are always accustomed to getting what they want, when things don't go their way, then they get angry. And race has absolutely nothing to do with it. It's everybody else's problem.
Well said, Karen. That's true.
I would add one more motivation. I said arrogance and ignorance. I'll use the word fear is a very important thing for the Karen processes.
What is the fear? Is what I
didn't say it was rational, but
I accept you, Charlie. But what I've been trying to figure out is what are you fearful of?
Well, exactly.
I think fear is rational
because when stuff hits the dirt, and these people that you have issues with are the ones who come to your rescue. What's the problem?
I think the fear, if I may, I think the fear is rational from their point of view. And I think the irrationality of it from our point of view is just as valid. But I think you have the media in this country. I hate to bring it back to media, right? Yes. You have the media in this country playing both sides. You have the media showing the protests, talking about people who are wealthy, people who are Caucasian, and how they're living these lives and going about. And then you have the media talking about the protesters, and you showing video of the protesters saying, oh, we're going to, this is not fair. This is not right. If I'm the wealthy white person in my mansion that I know, probably got through some ill-gotten means, but that's America. I've made my wealth. And I see these protesters coming, and I saw the riots that the TV showed me the other day, because my interaction with people of that nationality is pretty much null and void, like Charlie was saying, except for what I get through the media. So now the media is telling me that they're dangerous. So yes, I'm going to fear them. I'm going to have my gun because they're coming to take what I got. And the news is telling me that. And the protesters feel like they're being done a disservice.
But Vincent, a lot of times it's not the wealthy or the well-to-do that are afraid. Sometimes it's people that are actually worse off than the people that's protesting. They don't have a pot to piss in, and they're out there talking about, we're afraid you're going to take our country or take something from. They're afraid they're going to lose something that they don't even have.
Well, they're disillusioned. You know what I mean? So, I do. I totally agree. Do you remember that Lyndon B. Johnson quote? If you can convince the lowest white man that he is better than the best colored man, he won't notice you picking his pocket. Hell, he'll give you somebody. If you give him somebody to look down on, he'll empty his pockets for you. So although they ain't got a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of, they still think they better than you. I might not have a lot, but at least I ain't black.
That's a good point. And I will say this as well, what Karen was saying, one of the best experiences that I had in my early life in being a teenager in New York. I grew up in my community, which was primarily African-American, Hispanic. And then I had a chance to go to a integrated high school, Brooklyn Tech, with Karen and Robert. And, Robert sat in back of me in chemistry class. And I started to realize that there's people that's going through the same thing in life. They want to have a better life. Their parents are putting them here so that they can learn and have a better life. And we all do the same things. We go through the same experiences, as Robert's Asian. We will be talking about in a upcoming episode Asian hate. We have Dan who is Jewish. We're going to be talking about anti-Semitism. You know, we all go through the same things. It's just that some of us feel that we are more entitled than others. So we're going to leave it right there. I'm going to ask for 1 minute from each of you. Any final thoughts that you can give us in 1 minute? We'll start with Amy.
I think we've hit on a lot of things. I'm glad that Vince mentioned the press, because I do think that they stoke a lot of it in the desire to get more hits or more clicks or sell papers. I don't like the race and I mean like running race, like that, the way society is built, the way that we all feel, all of us, I won't speak for everyone on the panel, but in general, there's this feeling of, I need to get it because otherwise you're going to take it from me. And we have way more than enough that shouldn't apply. I'm just glad that you've got a very diverse panel on here talking about it. And hopefully if folks can continue to have civil conversations, maybe we can just learn to be nicer to each other. So those are my thoughts.
All right. Thank you, Amy. Karen, 1 minute. Final thoughts.
I every day I try to understand, because my exposure is not what they try to make you believe this is how it is. I have friends in all ethnic groups, and some of them are, everyone's like a family to me. So someone having or not having doesn't matter. It's who you are, what you're bringing to the table, your character, that matters to me. Because I've been around people with money, I've been around people without money, and they still both have the same mess.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Robert, please unmute yourself and give us 1 minute for your final thought.
Well, in my opinion, the moniker of Karen-ism might be unfair, might be too broad. Like people say, the need for a title or putting a label on things, shouldn't be necessary. You should deal with people on an individual basis. But in terms of its popularity, there are certain instances where you would never suspect somebody of having, certain issues or certain feelings based on their family, based on, their history and such. And all of a sudden, it's there in front of your face. They have a moment where maybe their true selves or just anger flashes by for a moment of insanity. But there was this one instance, I think, in Kips Bay. This was last year in March or something like that. An Asian couple, this is not Asian hate thing, this is Karen-ism, I guess they were hailing down a cab, and some little old lady, said she was there first, and told them to go back to Asia where they came from, and was doing all this. This is my cab. You can't cut me off. Don't you know the rules? And there are rules to this. And her name, she was a famous politician's daughter, very famous politician's daughter here in New York State, and you never know.
You never know. That is so true. You never know. I'm going to ask Charlie for 1 minute for your final thoughts, sir.
All I will say to that is I try to remind myself personally every day, not to say, for instance, Calvin, oh yeah, Calvin, the black guy does a show here or something like that. That Calvin is a very good person and a great human being on that. I don't think of you in terms of that, and I would say that of any of the others of the panel or anybody in general on that. I try to remind myself that don't get into that. It's an easy trap for anybody, including myself, to fall into. So I try very hard not to do that. And my hope is I will continue to do that.
Thank you. Vincent, 1 minute, please.
Start the clock. What I'll say is I do think names are still necessary. Why? Because names give labels, and names is one of the cards that society us as a whole have to correct crappy behavior, right? Everyone's heard of Chester molester.
Mhm.
We've heard of that because that's synonymous with molested. So if you hear yourself call that, it's like, okay, pedophilia and molestation isn't cool. So you don't want to be called Chester molester. So the same way that these labels and names can be used as negative, they can also be used as positive. Also, the way we fix this is we got to start meeting people. We all interact with two different types of ways. We interact as a group, and then we interact individually. The more we open ourselves individually up to meet someone of a different nationality, of a different culture, we now have changed how we feel about that and what we actually know. We got more information now. Well, it wasn't like that. It wasn't like that at all. And so now you change the way you approach, and that's how you change that perspective. Because now, if you don't meet nobody, or if you never see people of different nationality, you just go off which is assumed or you heard. So that's the way we fix that. We got to start meeting people, and we got to start making the effort to see each other as human beings.
That's it. I definitely,
Well said.
I definitely agree with that. Very well said, Vincent. We must.
I went over about 14 seconds though.
That's okay.
Be fast.
That's okay. But we must start.
Can I add one thing, Cal?
1 second, Charlie.
Yeah.
We
Sure.
must start learning how the other side feels. We must start having those conversations. You know, things are not going to get better with everybody keeping their thoughts the way they have been. You know,
there are forces trying to keep us apart because
there is a renewing of the mind, if you will, that needs to happen, a cleansing that I feel it started last year. I was so surprised, but so happy. And at first I didn't see the possibility, but now I do. Charlie, 30 seconds.
I was going to just add on my previous statement that I'm going to go out and I'm an Uber driver, mostly in the city of Chicago. I'm going to go out and meet many diverse people tonight. And so I'm going to try to practice what I preach here. And a lot of them, of course, will be in Halloween costumes too. That's another story. But
All right. Well, I want to thank our panelists. That's about all, y'all, for this segment of Diverse Talking Heads podcast. I'm your man, Calvin Gibbs. Thank you so much for checking us out. And we will see you at the very next episode of Diverse Talking Heads podcast.